Overnight success? Try 12 years, add in a maxed credit card and a 25k swing at a Hollywood lounge. Heather Marianna went from corporate marketing to running Oscars and Emmys gifting lounges. And she still saves a seat for the garage-born brands, the places where entrepreneurial dreams are just percolating and businesses are forged. If you think hustle is dead, then listen up. This is how you bet on yourself. This is how you build relationships. And this is how you turn "you don't belong here" into "I'll see you on the carpet." This is Uncharted, the Entrepreneur's Adventure podcast. And also, don't miss the giveaway waiting for you midway through the show. So, Heather,
Yes.
take me from 9 to 5 to the Oscars, how on earth that happens, and just a general sense of how crazy that journey's been for you. If it has been crazy at all, it sounds like it would be.
It's been really crazy good. We'll say that. So in 2012, I started my skincare line, Beauty Kitchen, and I was just in total hustle mode. And every entrepreneur knows hustle mode, you know? And I was making all the product, labeling all the product. I had hardly any help. And that was back in the day when Twitter was really hot and you could just tweet celebrities and DM them and like it didn't get filtered. Like everything gets filtered now. And this is, I always say before, influencers ruined everything for us.
Don't they always?
I know I have a love-hate relationship with them. So I was tweeting celebrities, like everyone, and I was just like, hey, I have the best anti-cellulite coffee scrub, which is still our number one seller. And I was like, hey, how can I get this to you? Will you use it? And then people started tweeting about it and all this stuff. And then I got invited to do all these celebrity events and to be on TV talking about my products and all these things. And so one of the events that I got invited to do was a celebrity gifting lounge. And I was like, what is this thing? Like, I don't know what this is. And it was so expensive. It was like $25,000 for like 2 events. Thank you. Bootstrapping my company like most entrepreneurs do, right? Credit cards,
Yeah.
max, the whole thing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do a payment. They let me do a payment plan. And then I did the event and I was like, eh. But then I got called to do another one with another woman named Doris. And this was probably 2013. And I was like, I don't know. I already did that stuff. And then everyone was like, she's so picky about who she lets in her events. She has the best celebrities. It's totally different than the one that you did before. And I was like, I don't know. And then I started watching her and I started seeing everything. And I'm like, I need to be there. So then I basically started begging her for like a year to let me into her events, right? So let's call it 2014. I did my first event with her. It was the best gifting lounge. It was amazing. There was like a DJ, there was a party, there was food, there was like past appetizers. Like it was just so good. And I was like immediately signed up to be the title sponsor for Oscars and Emmys for all of her events. So fast forward all the years, COVID happens. Doris and I become really close during COVID. I'm helping her, referring her brands. I'm basically her unpaid assistant. She was in her 70s. Like, she didn't know how to use Instagram. So I'm trying to help her with all this stuff. So unfortunately, in 2022, she passed away. And I was asked to carry on the torch because we were so close. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I'm doing. But something told me, just do it. And so I did my first event. It was great. And now I'm going to be on my 5th event. And we do Oscars and we do Emmys. And I took her concept and I made it bigger. I used my entrepreneurial mind, made it bigger, better, added elements that, from me being a sponsor and paying the money, there were elements that I thought she could improve on. But like I said, Doris did things Doris's way. She didn't really care. So I changed things up, like photographers, you get your photos right then, that night, 20-foot red carpet, bigger venue space, bigger vendors, video people are there, tons of food, tons of drinks, just like Doris style, bars, all that stuff. And it's been a learning experience, doing these events. And it's something new that I'm doing, fairly new, a couple years, 3 years now, but it's been really good and an adventure for sure, you know?
It sounds it. Sounds
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And it's allowed, yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I think when you're an entrepreneur and you're doing one thing, right? Like I'm doing skincare and coaching skincare and beauty brands and helping them with manufacturing, whether it be, finding a product, in their price range, ready to label or something like that. I love doing all that, but this is just so fun and it's so different and it still works with what I'm doing because I can work with brands on so many levels now. Like, get them on TV for the event segments, get them like product placement in movies. I can do all kinds of things. So it all kind of married together, but it took a while to make the pieces really fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and that kind of promotion of other people's brands, so they're specifically your clients, right?
Most of not most of the people that come to the event are not my clients, but most of them do become clients because they want help with things after they see how great the event is, whether it be like helping with PR and then, like press releases, which I, love to call Blair to help with those things and all that kind of stuff. But I do have a lot of small brands that I work with that are startup because, I started in my garage. So I know the ropes. I know how to get from here to here and what you need to do and what you need to not spend money on and what you do need to spend money on, right? Because I've wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars starting my brand doing things because I did what everybody told me to do, like, "We'll build your
Mm.
website, 10,000, and I never hear from them. We'll run these ads on Instagram or Facebook and make a new site," and then all of a sudden, I end up just sending out free product because they're getting me a lot of orders, but they're all promo codes, and they charged me 20 grand, you know what I mean? So, all those mistakes, that I made, I like to teach people not to make those mistakes, and I always have a seat at the table for the small brands at my events because it's important that they're in the room just as much, say, like a big brand like a Skechers or a Reebok or something, right? Everybody deserves to be in that room. So I have certain rates that I give those brands because I remember when I put that money on my credit card and I was working in my garage, people were like, "What are you doing? Like you don't belong there. Like you're not even a big brand. Why would you do that?" And I just was like, "No, I belong there." And I think once the small brands do these events, they're like, "Holy shit, this was so worth it." You know what I mean?
So that was going to be my next kind of question. Actually, was take me back to that moment where it was a case of, "Oh, Cal, this is 25 grand I've got to put down." What was that kind of risk like for you internally? And it sounds like people were kind of not really on your side and pushing you
No,
to go
not at
for
all.
it.
Yeah, not at all. One thing, being an entrepreneur is you really learn who's there, like who's for you and who's against you really fast. Because I did find it funny that after I did that event and I ended up in OK Magazine, Radar Online, all these places, right? And I had never had any kind of press ever. I was just a girl in her garage making her anti-cellulite scrub. And I had tunnel vision, right? It's funny, a lot of those people, as I built the company, got my first warehouse, got out of my garage and just built and started doing collaboration products with these celebrities I was meeting at these events and going to lunches and dinners with them. It's funny how all those people kind of circle back, you know?
Yeah,
And
strange,
they're like, "What are
strange,
you
right?
doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." Because you have to believe in yourself, and when I put that $25,000 down, to answer your question, I was like, "Okay, I've gotta, like, really give this my all." So it was like, I maybe went a little overboard, and I was like the night before, I was asleep. I was, like, in bed by, like, 6 o'clock. I wanted to be super rested. I had my pitch down. I was like and then, the first couple hours, I was a little, like, nervous because I hadn't really met a lot of these people, like, I had some celebrity friends, but not like this, And after a while, I just said, "You know what? Grow a pair, Heather. Start asking them for their information, get their email, get their phone number, and I did, and I remember the guy from Mean Girls, Daniel, came in, he played the guy that said, "She doesn't even go here." That guy, he came in, and I was like, "Oh my god, I love Mean Girls," and now we're, like, friends and, like, Facebook friends, and, like, I have his phone number, and we stay in touch, and, he doesn't live in LA anymore, but when he did, I'd always invite him to things and vice versa, so I created a lot of relationships because I went in like, with my ask and what I wanted to get out of the event, which is, I think, why a lot of brands come to my event versus other ones. Because 'cause I'm not just a producer, I also used to be a sponsor. So I do, like, a one-hour call with each brand to make sure that they're really set up for success, and, like, we focus on what their ask is and what they wanna get out of it and how they should set up their table and what products they're gonna bring and all of that stuff, and I'm gonna tell you right now, no other event producer does that. Because to do 50 one-hour calls with 50 different brands is a lot, and a lot of people just don't care, but this is why my events are so great, and people come back for multiple events, like, Blair's been to every single one, and she'll be at every single event. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you're going through those calls with everybody, what is it that you're looking for from them?
Well,
That means you take them on and like take them under your wing and then give
yeah,
them the stage
so
to.
I'll do an introductory Zoom with a brand who might be interested in doing the event, and some people are just not fit, for the event. So this is a great example. Couple weeks ago, I had a Zoom and they just really wanted to give me their money. They were like, "We wanna be there." But it wasn't a fit. It was a company that makes baby cribs, and I'm like, "Not everybody has a baby." You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna give a crib to someone that, like, doesn't have a baby or a grandbaby or somebody's not pregnant in their family? It just doesn't make sense, and they were quite mad. So I do the introductory Zoom to make sure it's a good fit, make sure that this it's I don't have, like, I'm like certain events, I build it out. Like, I don't wanna be super heavy on beauty or super heavy on this or super heavy on that. So I try to, make sure that everything is pretty even keel to where the celebrities are getting a lot of different gifts from a lot of different things, instead of like it just being all beauty. If I'm gonna do that, I would just do a all beauty influencer event, right? So and then after I take them on, they sign up, they get me all their logos and everything, then we schedule the one-hour call where I go through what products they're gonna bring, when they need to ship things for the TV segments, that I do to promote them and promote the event and things of that nature, and also, like, what do they want out of it? Do they want some people don't want collaborations. They just want, celebrity endorsers, they want them posting. Some brands, like, for example, I have a sound bowl company that comes to they're coming back for their second event. They did Oscars, they're doing Emmys. They wanna do, get in with the celebrities who maybe do those kind of events at their houses, you know what I mean? And do the sound healing and have them promote the bowls, and there's just different things that different brands want, so that's why I do those calls because not everybody's the same, you know?
Mm, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like you say, waste of time bringing someone in who's got nothing to do with what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, "We really, like, wanna be there," and I'm like, "I just doesn't make sense." Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't give
Yeah.
everyone a crib. Like, I really wouldn't have any baby stuff at any of my events, it's just too niche, you know what I
Mm,
mean? It's too
mm.
niche, and I just really honestly wouldn't feel comfortable having somebody there and taking their money, and then them not getting the ROI or the experience that they deserve, just like other brands, and I don't want that. I don't work like that.
Take me back to your 9 to 5 then. So was you doing anything related to,
No,
the
I
beauty industry?
I started my skincare brand in 2012. I moved to Vegas in 2010 for a corporate job. I was a marketing director and consultant for a company that did profitability of food and captive market audiences. Very boring numbers job, right? And so we would go to like casinos, water parks, stadiums, look at all their food concessions, their restaurants, everything, see how they could make the most money on that food because people stay there all day, captive market audience, right? So after working that job for a couple years, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like it was so much travel. I had 2 dogs in Vegas. I was gone all the time. And I remember just sitting in my bathtub one night in this beautiful condo I had on the strip and just going, "Ugh, I don't know what I want to do." So I started asking my friends and they're like, "You should make," literally they said, "You should make that beauty shit." Because I used to make beauty stuff all the time, like face
Make
masks.
that beauty shit.
Yeah, they were like, "You literally cleared up my acne," you know, and I'm really into herbs and all that stuff, and I have been since I was a kid, you know, plants, all that kinda stuff, essential oils, I've always been like that, and so I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna give it a go," and because I was traveling so much and not really spending, crazy amounts of money other than some stupid shopping sprees here and there when I was bored. And then I had a big payout coming when I left the company on my commissions. I was able to start my brand. So that really was a good cushion. But, as any entrepreneur knows, when you have a cushion and you have all these expenses, you have to keep going because that money's going to run out at some point. You can't just say, all right, I've got, 400 grand that's gonna last me forever. When you're doing a startup and R&D and certificates of manufacturing and all the things, and things were a lot looser in 2012 with manufacturing. It's very, very strict now. So, I fell under like, make meat from home for a while, right? And then when I got my first warehouse and it was like, you have to get your GMP and you have to get all this stuff and you have to pay 5,000 for that, 10,000 for this. And more money, more problems, right? So you just have to keep going. But I made a lot of connections and did a lot of business through the gifting lounges. And I'm so grateful for Doris for letting me come and really grateful, and I know she's watching over me. I always say that. She's always like, Heather, and that's how she would say my name. But I'm really grateful that I got so close with her because I got to see the inner workings of everything. And, she really showed me a lot. So it was, I wouldn't say an easy transition, but it made the transition easier to go from sponsor to producer. And I really love being in the producer role because I really love seeing the brands like after the event, they're like, "Holy shit, that was amazing. Like I met this person's like posted my stuff and da 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 da." And the media, I have 50 media outlets that come. I had 26 covering the red carpet. I mean, I got 27 placements and millions of impressions on Instagram for each brand. So it was really, really good. And it's just going to keep getting bigger and better.
If you've ever felt like success isn't feeling as fulfilling as you thought it would, or like there's something more out there for you, but you just don't know what it is, then I've got something for you. I hosted a free webinar called The Power of Vision, 3 keys to mastering your results. It's designed for anyone who feels like they should be further ahead, but they aren't, and something is missing. You can grab instant access at ianwhiteheadcoaching.com/the power of vision. The link will be in the show notes for you. Head on over and start making a shift towards finding your purpose. Now, back to the show. And I just want to kind of tap into something here. So we talked about that risk earlier, about just putting the money down and doing it and just taking that step on beginning your entrepreneurial journey. There's kind of like an inner resilience there
Yeah.
that you've heavily relied on, it sounds like, as well,
Yeah.
despite the fact that people didn't really believe you or believe that you should be in that space. So what how is that inner resilience now as it just kind of grew and grew and grew?
Yeah. I've definitely done a lot of inner work, and I've learned to just rely. I don't have my grandmother raised me. She's passed away. So I don't have like family or anybody, what I mean? I've always had to just do it myself. And I think I've really tapped in over the last 3 years, I would say, on really knowing like what I'm capable of because it's insane. Like the stuff that I can put together. And it's all honestly, I really feel it's because ever since I started my brand, I've never screwed one person over. I've always kept my word. If I was said, "Oh, I'm gonna do 500 scrubs for a charity," and I forgot and it was due in 2 days, I would stay up for 2 days and get it done. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just that person, and I've built all of these relationships And everybody knows that they can count on me for doing what I say I'm gonna do, because when you're an early entrepreneur, it's so easy to burn bridges, and I always tell people, like, "Don't burn any bridges because you never know, like, who you're gonna need 10, 15 years from now." Like, I'm calling on celebrities I met 10 years ago that are now coming to my events, and we're, like, big ones, and I'm like, "Hey, remember me? Like, I'm doing this event now." And they're like, "Oh my god, congratulations, of course we'll come support," you know? So, I think, not burning bridges and stuff like that really, really helps with all of that.
Nice, nice. And just circling back to uh, I was talking about before we started recording with regards to what's the kind of big adventure of your entrepreneurial journey. How would you sum that up?
My big adventure. I mean, there's been so many goals that I used to set for myself, and now it's like part of daily life. You know what I mean? So I think the journey is the adventure, you know? Like, I remember when I was first starting my brand, okay? And I would have to drive to LA every single week. And I would have to bring all of my stuff in my car and everything for like events or whatever I was doing there. Because one, I couldn't spend, $1,000 every week to ship stuff, right? I had no other choice. And I remember I'd be driving and I'd be like, one day I'm just going to be able to fly private and just not even deal with this. And now, if I have a meeting July 10th, I'm going to LA for 5 meetings. I'm out at 7, back at 6:30, no airport. Like, making the goals is the journey, is the adventure, because you really never know what's around the corner. And as you get better and better at whatever you're doing, for whoever's listening to this, more opportunities are gonna come to you. Like with my events, me just doing my own gifting lounge. Now I'm getting called to help with other gifting lounges for other celebrities for their private events, because they're seeing what I'm doing, and I'm getting to choose whether I say yes or not, which is really cool, because when I first started, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this, they feel like they have to say yes to everything. And I feel like you kind of do in the beginning, because you need to see what's going to work, right? But at some point, when I'm many years in, I don't know who that is. My gosh. Do you mind if can we pause? Can we pause real quick? I don't know who this is. Sorry. Okay. So what I was saying is, when you first start, you have to feel like you have to say yes to everything. And because when you get better and better at what you're doing, you get known for what you're doing, and you're doing things like podcasts, and you're speaking on stages, and you're running master classes, and whatever it is that in your whatever field you're in, you get so much more opportunity when you stay true and really keep your word and do that and just solidify yourself as a solid person, that you get to pick and choose what you want to do. Somebody called me to do this big celebrity, and I'm like, I don't know. You got to tell me yes now, because I'm not doing this last minute. And I get to say that to his A-list celebrity now. That's hilarious to me, right? Because I'm like, before I'd be like, "Please give me the opportunity." Now I'm like, "I don't know, let me look at my calendar. Do I have enough time?" You know?
Maybe.
But that's the beauty of just working really hard in the beginning as an entrepreneur, and just really solidifying yourself and making sure that you're getting correct press is so important. You're getting on stages, even if they're small, who cares? Get out there and speak, get on podcasts, do everything that you can do. And then that way, when you're, 15 years in, like I am, let's see, 2012, 20, yeah, almost 15 years. And like I am, you can really kind of pick and choose. After this podcast, I'm throwing sweats on, and I'm going to sit on my couch, and I'm going to watch this Netflix documentary while I go through some paperwork. And that's the
Ooh,
beauty of,
what's the documentary out of interest?
oh
I
my
do like them.
gosh. So I just saw it on Instagram today, and it's about that cruise ship. Remember the cruise ship that everyone got stuck on? It just
Mm,
died in the middle of the ocean, and the bathrooms are overflowing and everything. It's about that.
I'll look for it. I
Oh,
do like
I love
documentaries.
documentaries. That's all I watch, documentaries, and then Love Island. Somebody got me hooked on that. It's really good.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I don't stay up to watch it because 'cause I'm in bed. I, like, watch it the next morning at, like, 4:30 in the morning while I'm starting my day, like, slowly, like, doing my food before I go to the dog park, but, yeah, it's actually quite interesting, but sometimes if I don't feel like watching it, I just go to Instagram and get all the spoilers.
I've watched maybe one episode of that program, and I felt my brain dying as I was watching it.
Yeah. No, I get that, but sometimes when you need to be lazy, like, if I need to be lazy and recharge on the weekend, because I always tell everyone, like, "You cannot burn out." Like, you have got to spend a whole day, like, just
Mm.
recharging Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, whatever day it is for you, right? And I didn't get to do that last weekend. I was at the beauty show all weekend, 5 hours a day, and Monday morning, I did not feel rested, like, at all, and I was like, "Okay, you gotta protect your sleep." I learned this, and I agree with Blair on this. You gotta protect your sleep like it's your sanity, and your rest.
Absolutely. I just want to pick up on one final thing before we start to wrap it up. Is
Yeah.
you were talking about you got to work hard at the beginning. And I feel like recently, within the past couple of years, having a bit of hustle about you is getting a bit of a bad rap. And people are
Yeah.
saying you shouldn't be hustling, you shouldn't be hustling. But there's um there's a guy called Rich Litvin who's a coach, a life coach to like presidents and athletes and all this kind of thing. And he has a blog, and on one of his blog posts is how I became an overnight success in 40 years. People don't recognize that it requires that hustle
Yeah.
to get to that moment where it becomes like, "Oh, look at him." So there's,
100%.
I feel like the hustle side of thing gets such a bad rap at the start. So just take us a little bit into that. You kind of touched on it then when you were driving across from Vegas to LA every week. What other kind of things did you have to do?
Well, like I said, when I was going to LA every single week, I was doing events. I was also taking TV hosting classes because when I first started my brand, I never really wanted to be a brand owner. I just was doing this and taking classes because I wanted to be the beauty expert on the Today Show. That was my job. Like, I just thought I
Mm.
was just going to get that job if I took these classes. It's crazy. So I was going back and forth every week taking classes and doing events, dropping product off at people's houses for reviews and all that kind of just really hustling, but I didn't have a choice. I couldn't afford to ship everything. I was already having to pay for a hotel there, and I refused to stay somewhere nasty, so that was expensive. And then, driving the car is easier than flying, and then I don't think Uber was even around then.
I don't think so, no.
So, like, how would I get around, I was just, like, doing the most and saying yes to everything, but I think me saying yes to everything in the beginning really led me to where I'm at now, right? You can pick and choose what you say yes to, but you never know when you're first starting out if that one person or that one meeting could really take you farther, because there were a lot of times I said no to certain things and said yes to other things when I should have been said, "I'm gonna go to 3 to 4 things a week," right? And I know I missed a lot of opportunity, right? But I feel like in the beginning, you do have to have a little bit of hustle about you, but you also have to have a balance. Like, you can't work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it doesn't matter if you send an email at 10 PM, no one's reading it till the next day anyways.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
So shut it down. So I'm very regimented about my schedule, and I think even early entrepreneurs, someone who's just starting should be very, very regimented about their schedule. My schedule is I'm literally showered, hair dried, skincare on by 6 PM. I know that sounds so early, but I get up at 4:45 and I only take 3 to 4 Zooms a day. And then I work on the event about an hour a day, and then I have 3 to 5 coaching clients a week that I try to put in one day so I can just bang it out, have all my stuff ready for all my calls. And
Mm.
then I'm laying down by 7 with my giant red light panel on and my oxygenated water and my bubble water, and then maybe I'll chat on the phone with my best friend for something, but I'm asleep by, like, 8:30 at the latest, and that's even pushing it. I really like and then I don't know if I could show you, I put these vitamin patches, because a lot of entrepreneurs forget, and when you're busy, like, to take your medicine, like, to take your vitamin pills, right? So, throw them in your smoothie, do whatever you have to do that. Meal prep is another really good advice I like to give entrepreneurs because me, if I don't have meal prep, I did all mine last night on the grill, I won't eat. And I'll be like, until my stomach is physically hurting me, I will not eat because I'm just too busy to go cook something. So meal
Mm.
prepping, having your schedule, taking your vitamins, even if you have to throw these patches on like I do until I eat and then I swallow a couple of the vitamins. I just bought this new old lady pill case because I'm putting that next to my bed at night. But it's you gotta be very regimented in everything that you do because your whole life is gonna how you feel and your sleep and all of that stuff is gonna pour into your business, good or bad.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think the final thing for me is that if you didn't love what you were doing as well, you wouldn't be.
No,
That
these
plays a massive role in having that resilience to take those risks
yeah,
and get up and do the hustle as well. So finding the purpose behind why you want to do something is massive for me in terms of having that ability to be able to push on.
yeah, and I think, having an end goal is really important in any business or any entrepreneurship and, like, what you're doing, like, having an exit plan or, I wanna do this, I wanna make this much money because this is what I wanna do to contribute to society, or this is where I wanna retire, or whatever. Everybody laughs at me, but just wait till I'm old. I'm retiring and I'm moving to Kenya, my favorite place in the world. I go there a lot and I love it. And I'm gonna wake up with my giraffe and my zebra and have my coffee. And everybody that laughs at me
The freshest of coffee.
yeah, the everybody that laughed at me and said I'm never gonna do that will not be invited to my safari camp.
Well, by the sounds of it, there was a lot of people that laughed at the start as well, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, please, you're not going there." I'm like, "Yeah, I will." Anybody that I ever go on a date with, I'm like, I think about, like, is this person gonna wanna move there with me?
Will they come to Kenya with me?
Because if not,
I
it ain't
love that.
happening.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah. I have a lot of
Well, well, Heather, what a great place to leave it. And thank you so much for coming on. But final thing is, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah, so Instagram, Heather Marianna, HeatherMarianna, 2 N's, and Beauty Brand Coaching is all about the events and my brand coaching and manufacturing and things like that, and that's pretty much it. I don't really use LinkedIn even though I should.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Heather. And for everybody, we'll put those in the show notes as well and links to everything as well. Have you ever felt like business should be more than numbers and deadlines? Like there's an entire world to explore beyond your office walls? Is adventure calling your name? I'm Ian Whitehead and I'm your guide on Uncharted, the Entrepreneur's Adventure podcast, where I bring you real stories from visionary leaders who've built empires and climbed literal mountains. Because success isn't just about the bottom line, it's about the thrill of taking risks, the courage to pursue what truly lights you up, and the freedom to chart your own course. Each week we'll dive deep into the minds of boundary-pushing entrepreneurs and adventurers, revealing how they found purpose in the chaos and discovered their true north, both in business and beyond. So, if you're ready to break free from the ordinary, embrace bold action and inject a little more adventure into your life, welcome to Uncharted. Your journey starts here.